Alright, so in this tutorial I'm going to explain the different modifiers. I'm going to explain some basic and widely used modifiers in Blender. So the first modifier we'll go over would be the array modifier. So for that we can add a mesh and a cube, add a modifier array. So you can see that the count is 2. If I go into tab mode, edit mode, it's just one object. If I increase this count 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's in the x-axis, so we can add a y-axis as well, and then we get this pattern. So x-axis 1 and y-axis 1, so it's like this. If I increase it more, we can make another pattern like so. One more thing which we can do with this is we can also make staircases by increasing this width. Simple staircase. Okay, you can apply your own understanding to this and make unique objects, but one more thing which we can do is add an array modifier, and we can do it this way as well. So this is our staircase. Okay, anyways, now we can do one more thing is make this 0 and let it be 1, and now it's just a box where we can increase this and this, and this. Now if we scale it on the z-axis, we can get a wooden floor as well. Okay, and then we can add another array modifier, and this time 0 is 1. It's like a staircase. A floating staircase. Anyways, this was the array modifier. Now coming to another modifier, I'll add another cube, and this time we'll use an ocean modifier. So ocean modifier can be used for lots of things. First of all, it can be used for simulating the ocean. Now for simulating the ocean, it's quite simple actually. You can increase the scale and you go into frame 1 and you hover over this time frame and hit I. Now you go to another frame, for instance frame 220, and you change the time to 5. Hit I here as well. Now if you play the animation, it'll play this. Now another thing which you can do with this is, I'll go into more detail with the ocean modifier by making an entire ocean later on, but this is just the basics which you can do with it. And to make it a little fast, okay, now we can play. This will be a little faster. we can increase the choppiness and decrease the scale. Increase the resolution to make it a nice ocean. Okay, then you can start playing around with the material settings. Another use for this ocean modifier is you can also break this ocean into a file so that it's easy to animate. You have the frames of animation and then you can just use it anywhere. Now another use for this modifier is, for instance, let's increase the scale and let us decrease the choppiness. This I have a tutorial for it, and you can watch the part 1 of the terrain modeling tutorial. And we can change the time, and if we now hit apply, you see we have a mesh. We have a mountain kind of a mesh. And you can use this in the game engine or in your scenes for making realistic mountains and other kinds of terrain. You can even make a plane map with this. And a plane map would be also very simple. You just have to decrease the scale first, and even more. So this could be our plane map if we hit apply. Okay, now we can do all sorts of things with this mountain or plane map and add bumps, and that is explained in part 1 of my terrain tutorial. You can have a look. Actually, you can watch all 3 parts to understand that concept better, how to make normals for use in the game engine so that a low poly object looks like a high poly object. Okay, now on to the next modifier. Okay, a subdivision surface modifier. Now this is also one of the most widely used modifiers. See, as you can see, if I disable this, the vertex count decreases. It's 26 vertices now and it's 8. So if I enable it, it increases. That means it adds some vertices. So what we can do is, okay, what I'll do is I make usually you can use a mirror modifier along with it. I'll explain it after this, but for the sake of explanation I'll explain it with a simple extruding of oops for some reason it's not allowing me to add that edge loops, but I'll explain it without this. Now you can extrude it, scale it, screw it again. Now if we add in, okay, let me that I do anything with this object, I extrude it, I move it, it is mirrored on the other side. Now you can also do set options like merge and clipping. See, if I move it now, it does not dislocate from the center. Now if I disable clipping now, it dislocates. Now if I disable merge as well, it will not merge. Get it? If I enable merge, it will merge. Now if I disable merge, okay, basically merge and clipping, if you turn it on, this is the best option for many objects. And you can change it on a, for example, if I have to move it here, now if I turn clipping off, now I can move it. Now this bottom part is merged and clipped on it, but the top part is not. So we can do things like this, scale and whatever. This is just some stupid object I have made, but yeah. Now see, because clipping was not on, you can clip it and okay, so yeah. Now another modifier. Now you can also use that same mirror modifier to maybe make some kind of a humanoid figure. Now I'll clip this as well, and something, however stupid, but yeah. Okay, now okay, so as you can see that what I have modeled here, that has exactly replicated on the other side. So we can use this for character creations, though not a very nice model, but you can do sculpting and all kinds of things after this, but this is just to make a basic structure of the object. Now another modifier I'll explain, and I think I'll do the rest in another tutorial. So I'll explain the displace modifier now. Okay, first I'll explain the multi-resolution. It is similar to the subdivision surface modifier. So what we can do is, okay, I'll add a mesh monkey. Now if I add a multi-resolution modifier to this, it is similar to the subdivision surface in which, but it has a lot of different options. We can subdivide, and then this method is basically used for sculpting. So now if we sculpt, for instance, if we draw something, okay, for instance, if we want to modify the ears, now we can do different types of sculpting as well. First of all, we can symmetrize it along the x or y axis. This is the x axis, so whatever changes we make here are mirrored on this. So if we remove this, those changes are not mirrored. So I'll keep mirroring on, you can change it. Then we can enable Dino Topo. Dino Topo is if, for example, I am sculpting here. Okay, we cannot use Dino Topo in while doing it. If we apply, then we can do Dino Topo, but yes, we can do sculpting, and we can do different things like making a crease, and smoothing it, and grabbing it, and so basically whatever changes we are doing on the left are getting repeated on the right and vice versa. See, now if I just hide it, it changes completely. We can also now if you want greater detail, see, for example, if you go into object mode and shading smooth, now this is a basic monkey. Now if you want to go into greater detail, go into sculpt mode, and we can subdivide higher. So now if we do things like adding a crease, now it's done in greater detail, or even adding anything else, drawing it, we can, add effects. I'm not that good with sculpting, but yeah, I'm learning. We can add different kinds of effects, like making it look a little more natural. And so on and so forth. Now if I go again, do a subdivide, you see that vertices have increased from to 795. Now if I subdivide it again, now there are a lot more vertices, and we can get a lot more detailing. And we can always delete the higher. First we need to change the preview to 1 and delete higher. Okay, sculpt to 1, delete higher. Now we can go forward in time. If we delete, it's gone. We have to sculpt again. But it's useful if, for example, you have messed up while sculpting. Like for instance, I have messed up here. Now I can change it and I can do it again, but I can also try to modify, rectify it, smooth it, and it's done. Okay, you can hit apply. and you get the different object. You can do sculpting for all kinds of things. For example, you can add a mesh plane, scale it by 5, subdivide it by, add a multi-resolution modifier and start sculpting. Okay, now subdivide it, you get more detail. Now for this I'll disable the symmetry because I'm trying to make it into a landmass kind of thing. Subdivide it again to get, we can always go into object mode and set shading to smooth and to in object mode as well. Okay, now you can see that it's looking like a little bit like a land, but we can do a lot more with this. And now we can again subdivide this to give greater detailing. So you have made your very own landscape. Now you can use the smooth modifier on parts which are untolerably rough. Okay, and you can also subdivide it once more, but that will also increase the vertex count. So you need to keep that in mind and sculpt all you want. Okay, this is just a rough mesh. There are a lot better ways to do this, a lot easier ways to do this. Now if you know sculpting, you can make a very realistic mesh, but I don't know that much, so I'm making all what I want, what I can. Okay, so now you can go to object mode and hit apply, and now it will be a big huge mesh. Okay, delete it. And one more modifier which we can do is the displace modifier. Now the displace modifier can be used on our previous mesh. Now for instance, I add a subdivision surface modifier to it, and after that I add a displace modifier to it. Now right now it's all messy, so for every displace modifier you need to have a texture, a displacement texture which is different from the other textures. So I'll create a new displacement texture. I'll go into textures panel, select displace as the texture, which was already selected but I selected. Now we can select any different kind of texture. We can use an image, we can use a blend which is changing different colors, but now for this I prefer to use clouds. Now right now you can see that it's all very weird looking. So for that we can lower the strength to 0.1 or maybe even less, 0.01, So now all over our terrain we get this nice bumpy effects, and we can change it to different types to get different kinds of effects. We can use another texture, we can use distorted noise, and this seems to work pretty well. We can increase the size a bit. Now I'll go with 1. Now this kind of displace modifier can be used to add additional effects. Like without the displace modifier, now it was looking weird, a little too smooth. Now this displace modifier has added vertices. So I'll decrease the size to even less, so that I get this nice. You can play around with this. There are lots of, see, the cell noises, even this is weird for this, but this can work in some cases. Blender original looks good, and okay. So now if I increase the strength, now I can add different kinds of things. Now this is very muddy. Okay, basically the thing is we have to decrease its strength. Okay, and I use it usually for effects like this. Clouds, I use it for very minute effects, and we can also combine several modifiers. Like if we add another displace modifier for big bumps and one for small bumps, like I've explained in my tutorials. Check out my terrain modeling tutorials for more on this. Okay, I think this is the last modifier in the basic section. Okay, so the rest of the modifiers I'll cover in another tutorial. Thanks for watching, stay tuned.